Since I'm taking up habitat here at Corsa Motors, I figured it would be a great time to share with you guys some of the common things that you see coming in and out of the shop, or at least the unique things. I'm not going to say any of it is going to be life-changing, but it'll start to paint a picture as to which cars break, how they break, and start to show you common themes in exotic car repairs. Behind me, I've got a McLaren MP4 12C Spider, and it's not going into reverse. Let's see how expensive that's going to be. Now, as you could see, the entire rear bumper section, everything has to come off. The transmission is mounted in the rear back here. And you can see, here's the different gears. When a car doesn't go into a certain gear, it's either a mechanical issue. With these, it could be a hydraulic issue, or it could be an electrical issue. Now, this is the reverse gear down here. If you just give it a little zoink, there you go. It goes into reverse mechanically. So that is not the case that's not the problem that you're having. It is going into gear. That's the only gear that's presenting a problem. Let me just turn my flashlight off. And if we come over here, also interesting to see, this is the solenoid mount for the tire pressure, the TPMS sensors. On the inside of the fender well, that talks to each individual tire and then relays it back to the car. But step two, and this is where it's sort of labor intensive when you have a problem like this, you take the solenoids apart and you start to look for any evidence. Like ideally you would have seen evidence of something in the fluid. If there were metal shavings or something like that, it would point to a failure. Unfortunately, there was nothing. The fluid was clean, and you can start now trying to troubleshoot. You test all of these, and these all checked out good. So again, that's not the problem. This is a little computer. That could be the problem still. We're not at that point. And when I say we, I'm not doing any of this wrenching. I'm just talking you through it. But to think that the car doesn't go into gear, and this is just how complicated, it's a great performance car, but this is how complicated the shifting system is on these modern day cars, so that when something goes wrong, it's not like I can't get my manual car into reverse. Now you've got this whole complex system, and I mean, just look at these gaskets. Why are these gaskets so complicated? Because the different ways that the fluid is pushed through to select different gears. But I mean, that's cool. Like, it's a nice, cool, like, there's a lot of engineering here, which is what you're paying for. But the thing you want to just be aware of is when you're paying out of warranty, you have to come to a shop like Corsa Motors, because if you go to a dealership, you're already into this process for 20 grand. Not 20 grand, but it's a lot. I guarantee a dealer would tell you to replace the transmission if it's not going into gear after some basic troubleshooting, especially if they didn't see anything significantly wrong. But every time, at my experience with McLaren and dealers, it always gets quite expensive for anything, especially like, oh, the power steering rack went bad. Yeah, it's 36 grand. So it's good to have a shop like Corsa Motors. This isn't really a Corsa Motors plug, but if you're in the New York area, I mean, there's not really many shops like them. And it's good, especially if you want to own an exotic car, it's good to have somebody like that in your Rolodex, because it could save you a lot of money. Now, obviously, I don't know what's wrong with this car yet. We will find out soon enough. All of this here controls this transmission. And reverse is important. Like, the car drove in here, drove onto the lift, but reverse is a very important gear to have, because if you have ever been in anything without reverse, then you have to back up, you find yourself in a pretty sticky situation. And I'll keep you in the loop. I'll let you know what it ends up being. I may just do that on my Instagram or something like that. This is more so to just highlight different things that tend to go wrong with these cars, so you can see. But obviously, rear-mounted transmission, this is a heat exchanger or transmission oil cooler, same thing. It dissipates heat with the extra volume. But if you see in here, you see a lot of things that, although everything looks very neat and nifty, everything on the McLarens are very expensive to fix. So it's good to be able to identify and fix it as cheaply as possible, but in certain cases that's not entirely possible. So stay tuned. I'll bring you more. This is the McLaren. I don't think anything else in the shop here is really worth talking about, but to see a McLaren 12C come in with a transmission issue, definitely worth bringing up, something you want to keep in mind when you're looking to buy one out of warranty, because out of warranty, they're not cheap. For those of you not familiar with my other company, I started a company called Adventure Drives, which combines driving and bucket list travel. So it's a lot of fun. Our next trip is up to the Northern Lights in Iceland at the end of February. We're going to be doing snowmobiling on glaciers, off-roading, taking a dip in the Blue Lagoon, and drinking whiskey until we're silly. So that's going to be a lot of fun. After that, we're off to Europe for a trip in July. If you're interested, prices can be done per person. It starts at about $3,000 per person for Iceland. Don't worry, if you don't have somebody to go with you, we can match you up with somebody. You can check the link in the description for adventuredrives.com and sign up today.